Welcome to the Mike and Jake Show, episode 3. Today
Yes,
with us,
great.
we have Mike and Jae Scarpa. They are creative finance experts and they're real estate investors. I'm going to let them say what they do more so in a minute here. But quickly, I do want to give you this disclosure. This podcast is provided for educational and informational purposes only. The views and strategies discussed are based on personal experience and do not guarantee specific results. Real estate investing involves risk, and each individual's financial situation is unique. Always perform your own due diligence and consider professional advice tailored to your own circumstance before making investment decisions. This is not a solicitation to attract investors, nor are we marketing any securities. Neither the hosts nor guests assume liability for any outcomes associated with the information provided. Now, with that, let me welcome Mike and Jay. How are you guys doing today?
We're good. Thank you both for having us.
Yes, thank you.
This is awesome.
And we got Mike Bazzadona over here, who just got over his technical difficulties. And
Yep.
how you doing?
Good. I'm excited to hear what they do. You know, I like that creative stuff. And let's jump into it. Why don't you guys explain, how you got into all this whole real estate and you're just booming.
For sure, man. So just a little background on who we are for the audience. Myself, my name is Mike. I'm originally from North Jersey, went down to Philly, met my wife at college, and then we moved out to Schuylkill County probably within the past year. We've been investing in real estate full-time for about 3.5 years, but we've been doing it all together for about a little over 5 at this point.
And obviously, I'm Jay. I was actually, I grew up in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. So yes, the Amish were my neighbors. And yeah, I met my husband, Mike, in college, and we've been together since and started all these businesses.
Yeah. So prior to real estate, right, us doing this full time, I was an accountant and Jay was a real estate paralegal. We lived in Philly, renting a luxury apartment in a high rise, thinking that you're a hot shot at, 23 years old. Right. And then push came to shove, COVID happened. We all got sent home from work. We're working from home. It's boring as hell. And in Philly at the time, it was development, real estate, everything was booming. Growing up, my parents in North Jersey had, probably about 6 to 8 units. They were small duplexes, and my parents ran it very old school, right? Toilet breaks, who's out there? Me and my dad. When the snow needs shoveling, who's out there? Me, right? So I hated it growing up. I actually never wanted to get into real estate.
So lo and behold, I was pulling my hair trying to get him to invest with me.
Yep.
So you guys were in Philly, and
Yep.
and you were doing good, right? Like you're
Yep.
accountant, paralegal, you're living downtown Philly.
Mhm.
Luxury.
Yeah, nice apartment. And it's funny that you mentioned the Amish thing, because our last episode 2, which is going to be coming out shortly, that was
Tomorrow.
with someone that just left the Amish community.
Wow.
So that'll be an interesting one. But so Mike, you weren't like you come from a real estate background. Your family did it, but you were opposed. You didn't want to do it at all.
Yep. And it came down to the fact of just what I knew, right? And how my family, went about it. I come from an old school Italian family. You don't hire things out, you do it yourself, right? And when it comes down to it, every time there's a turnover, I'm in there with my dad, rolling the walls, painting, redoing kitchens, and everything was just patch, fix, re-rent, right? It was never, let's make it sustainable for the long run. So always in my head, I was like, this is way too much work for the amount of money that you're probably doing. I'm like, no way, I'm never doing this. Well, lo and behold, we get to Philly, we start working from home. We have a couple friends locally in the area that are, have some rentals. They tell us to go to a meetup, so we go to an in-person meetup. And from there, Jay is like, hey, Mike, I want to buy property. I want to buy a rental. I want to buy a rental. I want to buy a rental.
I mean, I'm looking around and all these developers,
Yeah.
And I'm working with them, right? Because I did commercial. I'm like, they started from somewhere. Like, I want a piece of this pie.
Yep. So we went old school route on our first deal. We hired a realtor, 20% down. It worked out great. We still have it. Section 8'd it, done. Well, we ran out of money, right? We used all of our savings for it. So both of us kind of come from a background where we have to be resourceful, right? I come from a working class family, and, you know, Jay's family comes from Puerto Rico. So, you know, we basically said, hey, look, this is something that we want to do. She finally got me on board, but we hit a wall. It's not, we can't do it. It's how can we do it, right? And at that point, this was back in April of 2020. We went to a virtual meetup because nothing was in person anymore. And that's where there's actually people on there talking about creative finance. And that's where we found out about it. And from there, things started to snowball. We said, okay, you know, let's hire somebody to teach us, you know, how to do marketing and sales and negotiating. And then we hired an attorney to teach us the creative stuff. And that's since April of 2020, we've completed like a little over 125 transactions. So
Pretty much all creative finance.
yeah, I would say 95% of all the transactions that we've closed have been a
creative.
form of creative finance, which we can get in. We're going to get into in a minute on like exactly what that is, because it's a buzzword. It's really all it is. Yeah.
It scares some people. So you guys did no wholesaling, you did no fix and flips. You bought a rental property and went straight to creative financing, correct?
We bought a rental property, went straight to creative finance. Right after that rental property, the next property we bought was a wraparound mortgage that Jay found through Facebook Marketplace. We negotiated it $5,000 down with closing costs, and we turned it into a rent to own. That deal is a nightmare in itself, but
Yeah, but that's how you learn.
Exactly. We do wholesale. We have a full-time acquisitions business at the moment. So we do wholesale. We do buy and hold. We have rentals. We do a lot of rent to own. So we sell a lot of our properties on lease options.
We've done novations.
Yeah, novations. I'll be honest with you. We've never done a fix and flip. I really don't have any interest.
Yeah.
But that's kind of where we're at now. But when we started, you know, we went right into rentals and then boom, into creating an acquisitions business that focuses on creative financing.
Yep.
And I see that. Well, let's get into it a little bit. You know.
Yeah.
I definitely want to, because creative financing is very wide open. It's really what you can create. No.
Yep. Exactly.
I make all different kinds of deals with people. So is it all seller financing, like they're holding a note, or?
So it's a culmination of everything, right? There's the three main that we do is our mirror wraparound mortgages, and seller financing, right?
Okay. Explain that to some of the newbies that are probably out there listening so they understand.
Yep, absolutely. So a wraparound mortgage is the ideology of a subject to deal. So you're taking over somebody's payments on their behalf, right? You get the deed, the loan stays in their name, coupled with seller financing. So just say you have a house for $100,000. They owe $50,000 on the mortgage. They have $50,000 in equity. You buy the house for $100,000. You take over the seller's payments for the $50,000, and then they hold a note for the other $50,000, right? And then there's a new mortgage created around both of them called a wraparound mortgage.
Okay. So you keep saying mortgage. Are you going to the bank then? Is the bank doing this?
Nope.
That's just paperwork.
Yep. We have not called a bank, talked to a lender since 2020, since we bought that first property.
So you're buying properties with no banks. Are they checking your credit when you do this?
Never.
Okay. So
no good. We have bad credit. That's good.
Yeah, I have like 15 hard inquiries in the last month. So my credit score's down right now. So yeah, that would help.
So you just go and do paperwork. So it's like a first and second mortgage pretty much. So I'm going to write one check though. I'm not going to write two. It's going to go somewhere and they're going to split out the money, or I'm going to write one to the homeowner, one to the bank.
So it depends on how you structure it, right? Like one of our properties that we just closed on, we have a balloon payment set up with the seller. So, and a balloon payment means like one lump sum payment down the road. So for the next 15 years, we are just paying the seller's mortgage on their behalf. And the equity of $85,000 that we owe them is just sitting in a promissory note or in a mortgage with no payments.
For 15 years.
For 15 years, no interest, no payments.
I'm glad I met you.
Yeah. No interest, no payments, 15 years. It sits there. They were happy they got their price. That's all they cared about, literally, and they walk
Sure.
away.
Wow.
Yep. And in terms of a mirror wrap, right? I want to get into this a little bit. So this is huge. There is a huge community of people who, are learning how to do subject to and things of that nature, right?
There is such thing of the old way of sub 2 and really the way that you should be
Good
doing.
doing it, right?
So the mirror version is the way you probably should do it.
Exactly.
Correct.
Is it the legal way, or they're all legal?
They're all legal. It's just what is more safe for the seller, right? When you're
Sure.
taking over somebody's mortgage on their behalf, that's staying on their credit. All of us right here, we probably run a very ethical, moral business where we know that we're
Yes.
not here to screw the seller over, or, we're going to do whatever we can to make sure we make those payments like we would for our own, right? Other people out there can't say the same. With a subject to deal, basically the deed of the home transfers to the seller, right? The mortgage just stays in place, and there's not any paperwork that states that, hey, somebody's supposed to be making these payments on their behalf. In case of default, there's no recourse. With a mirror wrap, there is a new mortgage placed around the current in debt that's against the home, and that is the seller's recourse and protection, stating that you promised to pay the mortgage on my behalf to, say, Wells Fargo, and if you miss a payment or if you don't pay, I have the ability to go to court and take the home from you. Where with the subject to deal, it would be very hard for them to prove any of that.
It's verbal, essentially.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure, it's a handshake, and they realized that it wasn't paying for 6 months,
Exactly.
and they're
Everybody
screwed.
listening right now, that would be $10,000 if you joined a community to learn that. So I suggest rewinding and listening.
Yes,
to
that's a good point.
that. Yeah. I just want to point that out. That's all.
You're not going to bill us, are you?
Yeah. Are we getting billed for this?
Because that Jersey accent's scaring me a little bit. And I'm from New York. Right away, as soon as I heard you, I go, "Oh, where's he from? He's from the neighborhood here."
Yeah. Just take me to Barclay Prime. We'll be all right.
Yeah.
So what Mike is saying right now, so I'll tell this story real quick. When I first got started in real estate, I did a subject to transaction and I assigned it to somebody else. And that new person that bought it made 0 payments on the mortgage. And so it went into foreclosure again. And obviously the original seller had no recourse, right? Because they sold the property, the debt's still in their name. So anyway, that was a very bad experience. And we actually got a letter from the Attorney General because they complained to the Attorney General and all that type of stuff. We had to pay off the mortgage to satisfy, the seller, so that we didn't get in any trouble or anything like that. Even though we acted in good faith and assigned it to somebody that we had worked with before, that we knew had enough money to make the payments, they're like, yeah, we're just not going to make any payments. So, so what you guys are talking about right now is preventing that from happening, right?
100%. And we couple that mirror wrap with what we call in the state of Pennsylvania, a deed in lieu of foreclosure. So the buyer signs a deed in lieu of foreclosure for additional protection to the seller to speed up the foreclosure process.
Here's something that I want to say is that we are in full transparency with the sellers too of what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like swept under the rug like some people out there do. They're in full transparency of like, hey, either us ourselves or one of our partners is going to end up purchasing your home.
Yep.
Right.
And if we assign a seller finance deal, it's just payments to the seller, so it's a little different. But when there's a third-party bank involved, right, we always make sure that the seller and the buyer meet on the phone to make sure that they actually can jive with each other and that they're going to know that they're going to be in relationship moving forward. And typically, it'll help you weed out a shitty buyer too, because at the end of the day, they won't want to do that. They don't want to act in good faith like that.
But even in my situation, like we did that and we had a big disclosure package and stuff.
Yep.
But even if all that goes good and for whatever reason the new buyer just stops making payments now, you can take the property back because you have it mirror wrapped, and you could either resell it or satisfy that mortgage or do whatever now. but
Yep.
at least there's some type of recourse. And you're using a deed in lieu so that you don't have to go through the foreclosure process, right?
Correct. Yep.
Awesome.
Yep.
Just a fast track pass, you know, hey, listen, if I don't pay here, this will get you to foreclose me out of here quick.
Exactly. And the buyer is forced to pre-sign it at closing so that the seller, all they have to do is sign it to execute it.
Awesome. Have you gotten pushback on the deed in lieu at all from like any attorneys or anything like that?
Mm-mm.
It's actually our attorney who forces us to do that. They won't do the deal unless we have a mirror wrap and a deed in lieu in place. So that's where we learned actually about doing the mirror wrap and the deed in lieu. This was right when we started. Our attorney said, we won't close this deal unless we do this. And that's where we learned it. This was back in like 2021.
Yeah.
And that's how this all came about. And then, so on from there.
So I'm sure it helps you. I'm sure it helps you close deals also, compared to the regular subject to guy.
Exactly. It's a good point because everybody has that question. If I'm talking with the seller, right, where we both are, well, what happens if you miss a payment? Oh, no problem, Mr. So-and-so. We never want to miss a payment. We don't plan on it. But if anything were to happen, you have X, Y, and Z in place to protect you. And they're like, oh, wow, okay, nice.
Yeah.
Right?
And if they go to somebody else, they might not have that, and they'll come back to you.
Exactly.
Well, it's just a lot of sub 2 is being taught on YouTube and stuff, and they're basically just saying, yeah, you can just take over someone's mortgage and you can assign that to somebody else. But what Mike and Jay are saying right now is that like there's a better way to do it where, you can actually protect the seller a little bit more. Even if you're acting in good faith and stuff, this is just a better way to do it, right?
Yep. And a lot of just like a little tidbit side note is that within the past 6 months, for subject to transactions, the default rate has gone up by over 11%. So it's really, and these are specifically subject to transactions. So right now it's really important that you're doing things the right way. It's getting some heat, but as long as you're doing it the right way, you act in good faith and you have an ethical business. It's something that's been happening and
It's been done for years.
So people have been utilizing the strategy for years. It's just now got,
Eyes on it.
fancy terminology associated to it.
And I'm sure it's going to get stronger with the lower interest rates a few years back. And
Yep.
people are getting caught up now.
So that's
That
how
might
we
be good.
bought. That's how we bought this one. We're in Lake Winona over in Auburn, and we had a lady reach out to us on Facebook. She was in pre-foreclosure. She asked us to basically pay up her back payments. It was like 10 grand and walk away. She wanted to walk away with 5 grand for an apartment. So we took over her 2.8% interest rate and basically put like 15 grand down plus closing costs. And that's how we've pretty much bought all of our properties as we sit.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. So why would a seller, because this is an objection you might get, like why would a seller ever sell you their property, just let you take over the mortgage?
Rock with it.
A lot of reasons. I think first and foremost is they don't have equity in the property at all, right? They had just bought it 1 or 2 years ago, and if they put it on the market, they're going to have to come with cash to the closing table.
Yep.
Is that the biggest obstacle? Is that usually people are upside down?
That and a lot of it comes from them being upside down. But another
Foreclosures,
pre-foreclosures, and then lastly is they typically have a second house. So typically, like for a couple of the properties that we personally own that we've done, those were second homes for people. They've already moved. Maybe their job bought them another house. Like that was one guy. And now he's paying a mortgage on a house that's just sitting there. He doesn't really care to make money because at the end of the day, his job was the one that bought it for him anyway.
Yeah.
So,
but he still wants that. So I could see, like, if it was a second house for me, I would just rather get it off my credit report.
Exactly. And that's their thing.
Yeah.
Yep. And then it depends on the market too. Pennsylvania is awesome for this type of stuff because in certain markets in Pennsylvania, they don't appreciate a ton. So what they paid for in 2021 when the interest rates were 2.5, 2.8, 3, they're not worth much more, right?
Yeah.
And that's how we got a property in Lancaster that in certain areas of Lancaster, the market is very flat, right? It has not gone up and it really hasn't gone down. And we got that house from one of Jay's friends. It was a referral. It has a 2.6% rate on it, right? And the guy, he didn't want to deal with putting it on the market. He just wanted enough so that he can move to Columbia, PA, closer to his daughter. That's it. That's all he cared about.
It's amazing how people don't want to work with realtors or whatever. They just say, hey, I'll just give you the house.
That's it.
It's nuts. And it happens every day. Jake has seen it. I've seen it. You guys have seen it. And yeah, but
Well,
this is cool.
I think one of the reasons is because there's just such a volume of real estate professionals that do transactions. 1.5 million agents. There's been like 860,000 transactions last month. Like, so that's more agents than inventory or whatever. So I think there's just a lot of bad out there. And I think if you bring good ethics and you bring a good business procedure and you can be that trustworthy person, I think you can do a lot, and it sounds like, you guys are very professional and you're really good at explaining it and setting expectations right, so that, it's they trust you and they'd rather work with you than some agent that's just looking to make a 6% commission or whatever.
Yep. And the biggest thing, one of our favorite methods that we do, right, is with residential real estate, sometimes it's hard to capitalize on that property multiple times, right? You buy it, you fix it up, you refinance it, you buy it, you fix it up, you sell it, right? But you're only profiting once. So what we do is we couple buying the property on the acquisition side creatively. So with seller finance, wrap, whatever. And then we also sell it creatively. So we sell it to a rent to own tenant buyer, right? So we'll buy a property on seller finance, turn around and market it. And we're not looking for a tenant. We're looking for somebody who wants to rent to own from us. Well, our goal on properties we keep is to buy with 10% of the purchase price, including closing costs, all in, right? $100,000 property, we're all in for 10 grand. Now let's just say that property, we can sell it for future value to the rent to own buyer for 150. Our typical down payment is anywhere between 7 to 10% of that purchase price we're selling it to them for. So now you're looking at 12 to 15 grand down from that tenant buyer. So we basically burr without the bank, right? We call it. So we're getting all of our money back without ever having to go to the bank.
Couple grand in the pocket.
Yep, exactly. Plus a little bit more. Then our cash flow, we're typically charging market rent plus a premium. And on top of that, we don't have reserves unless you want to set aside for maybe vacancy, because the tenant buyers are responsible for maintenance, repairs, any updates they want to do.
And vacancy is they're going to leave and you're going to do it again.
Exactly. Knock on wood, please. We haven't never had a tenant buyer leave. We only had one, which that nightmare property, which we could get into. But and then when they sell it, right, then we have the back end check. And as we sit, like the way that we have our properties marked up, they're typically on a 3 to 5 year lease option. So with debt pay down, because of the really low interest rates we got, plus the appreciation over 3 to 5 years, most of our back end checks are close to 6 figures when they buy us out. So we got money up front, we got money along the way from cash flow, and then we got a back end check. So small residential home, we're capitalizing 3 times.
So you're turning into the bank almost.
In a sense. Yep. Yeah. But in the law's eyes in PA, they're just seen as a renter. So if they stop paying, we don't have to foreclose, we just evict.
And so are they responsible for taxes and insurance?
You can bill them back, but you need to be careful with doing that with a lease option because of laws, and they're considered then they're almost considered a land contract. It gets funky. So that's why we charge market plus a premium. And
and when you say a premium, what's a premium?
200,
500.
Yeah. So on average, we're typically
I'm sure it depends on the area, but
yeah, we're typically on average, we're charging a couple hundred over. But if a tenant buyer doesn't have money down, or they don't have enough of money down, right? We want 10 and they only have 8 or 7. We make them pay over everything else in addition to make up for the difference. So we have our family in Lancaster's paying, our base rent was $1,500. they're paying 500 over the monthly rent. So we're actually grossing $2,000 a month on that place, where market rent would have been 1,500-1,600 with the premium. So, and that's how they're accumulating more. And that's how our cash flow is, on small single families, like 800 net.
So on these rent to own, do you do like credit check and stuff like that to see if are they really going to be able to buy, or you just care that they got the deposit? Hey, I got the 15,000 down. I don't really care if you have a 500 credit score.
Oh yeah. We do
I mean,
the whole background check, the whole DTI, what they need help with. We put them through credit repair, financial literacy. We're not those rent to own people.
okay, that was my next question. So that's important. So if you work with, like I work with lenders and stuff, I would say, hey, go talk to this gentleman. He's going to walk you through. He's going to help you, your credit and tell you what you need to do over the next 3 to 5 years, so we could actually get you, get you in this house.
Yep.
It's yours.
Yep, they have a game plan.
Yep.
Okay, this is good. You're
When-
definitely different than most of the rent-own people I know. So
When they apply, so like if they go, they see the house, they like it, we make them apply. And when they apply, they're applying to do basically a RMLO. If you're not familiar with what that is, it's basically a full debt to income background check on them. And this third party company we use, it's called screenthetenant.com. They're based out of PA. And what they do is they'll do that full RMLO. They'll get all the background checks, the whole nine. They send you a report. We know that they're going to have bad credit, right? That's the whole point of this, right? But what we care about is what's on the report.
Yeah.
Right.
sure.
Why is it bad? Is it they don't have credit?
Do they not pay, right? Or they pay everything in cash? The family in Lancaster we have, they just pay everything cash.
A lot of people don't have credit. A lot of people don't have credit cards or anything. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
So just to put a bow on this, so you guys are helping the seller. So you have a distressed situation and the seller's in pain, and you're helping them solve their problem through one of 5 different options. And oftentimes it's either subject to or seller finance. And then you're buying that property, and on the back end, you're helping somebody get into a home that might not otherwise be able to qualify.
Yep.
Is that a good summary of everything you're doing?
Nailed it.
Mhm.
Awesome. And you just explained exactly how you're doing it. So
Yeah, so I don't have to go on the 27th. And listen,
I'd love to have you.
I saw you got a big event coming on the 27th.
yeah, tell us about your event on the 27th real quick, since we talked about
I
it.
don't know if it'll be out by then, but definitely let's talk about it though.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we get asked a lot, like, hey, Mike, Jay, like, how do I know if this is a good creative deal? So on the 27th, we're having a free webinar. It's deal or no deal, right? We'll be breaking down 3.
Yeah, so we're going to break down 3 transactions, all of which that have come through our pipeline and we've either done or we've turned down. And then we're going to actually break them down real time, step by step, and basically tell the audience whether we would do the deal, why we would, and if we have, and why we wouldn't do the deal, and if we didn't.
Can you give us an explanation of 1 or 2, or just one? What's a good deal? What's a bad deal? Or,
Yeah.
Right? Why
Sure.
not? I want to know what you think is a good deal and what is a bad deal.
Sure. In terms of a creative deal, right? It depends on everything. It depends on your entry fee. It depends on your cash flow. It depends on what your exit is, right?
Your
Mhm.
location.
Your location. But from a base standpoint, right? Price, I don't care about price when it comes to any type of sub-2 seller finance, right? If I can get my terms, awesome.
Yep.
10% with closing costs all in as cash to close. That's max. That's tip of the top, right? If it's over that, it doesn't make sense. Interest rate, anything 4.5% or less is fine. Anything over that, it starts to get a little squirrely in terms of can it actually cash flow, right? And then one thing me and Jay look for is, can we net after everything 400 to 500 minimum per door or per property? Because to us, I'll be honest with you, I have no interest in owning like 60 units that cash flow $100 a door. That is ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't like that either when people say that, hey, you know, if cash flow is 100, 125, I'm not happy with that.
No.
You have one thing that goes wrong, and there goes your whole cash flow for the whole year.
Yeah.
Yes. The
That
water
comes
heater,
from-
the water heater could ruin your whole net.
Yeah.
So that
Crazy.
comes from the bigger pockets, community. That's back from, you should buy the 100 net cash flow to 200 net cash flow, and that's good. And so
Yeah.
everybody kind of took that and ran with it, I
Yeah,
think.
but you're talking to a guy that has 10,000 doors,
Yeah.
right? So I don't really care if the water heater breaks.
Yeah. That's true though. And like for us, like we're trying to have a portfolio where we don't have a million things to worry about, a million properties, a million tenants. Look, if we got a property that's cash flowing 400 to 500 minimum, right? And you do 20 of those,
Now we're talking.
that's a pretty good passive income right
Yeah.
there. Right. Yeah.
And so are you guys nationwide, or are you just in Pennsylvania or just around here? Where's your area?
So we do all of Pennsylvania. We've done deals in 15 states. But our main markets where we actively have campaigns and marketing running is North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and the DMV area. So Delaware, Maryland, Virginia.
We should essentially be nationwide because our students are everywhere, but
Yes. But
those are the states we focus on.
yeah, those are our states, like where we actually have a marketing budget associated to.
So your students, they pay, right, to be a member, or you take a piece of their deals, or you how does it work to be a student with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So
So
we have,
you're more a mentor or a teacher?
Coach.
yeah, we're
Coach. I'm sorry.
Yep. So
I'm sorry.
It's a good question. Not a lot of people ask that question.
yeah, seriously.
But yeah, we do one-on-one coaching. So we know that creative financing is so cumbersome. So we do the one-on-one coaching and only take a handful at a time.
Yep. So right now we typically only take 5 to 6 people at a time. They're with us for 10 months. We meet every single week for 10 months.
So what do you do? Do you interview? Like
Yes.
you know what I mean? Because listen, I coached wholesaling for a while, right?
Yeah.
And it was just holding me up because I took whoever wanted to learn, but they weren't giving a full effort. Then they're calling me, hey, I found this for sale by owner sign, taking pictures and sending it to me, asking me questions. I couldn't do anything. And I said, I'm not teaching anybody. I don't want to be a coach. I don't want to be a mentor. And that's how I went. But I don't mind. I'd rather mentor than be a teacher or a coach, or, you can call me for guidance, but not every 10 seconds. I wasn't getting deals closed.
Yep.
As soon as I got rid of them, I closed more deals.
Yep.
See, we do obviously we do teach our specialty, which is creative, but what we essentially do is teach you how to build an acquisitions business,
Yep.
right? So a business in a box.
Yep.
So
So
you
like,
have to take this seriously because you are creating a business out of it.
we have an application process. So if you did want to, do coaching with us, we have an application process. You'd have to interview with us, right?
Mhm.
Like it has to be mutually beneficial, and like you have to want it, because it's a huge time commitment for everybody, right? And that's why we only take on a few people at a time.
Yep.
And they have to fit, we have to be a good fit for them, and our personalities. We are
We have to jive.
high energy, right? And it's vice versa.
Yep.
So
If someone wants to do that, how do they get a hold of you to do that?
absolutely. So you guys can, if you're interested, you can go to romanscreativeacademy.com, or you can reach out to us on social media. I'm Roman with Mike on Instagram, ROMAN.
And I'm Roman with Jay. Side note, Roman is our doggy. All of our businesses are named after our dog.
Yes, that's how we came up with that name.
What kind of dog?
He's a red-nosed pitty.
Oh, wow.
That's awesome. And the links will be in the description as well if you're interested in learning more about that. So you just basically gave a guideline, and if somebody is like, how do I actually do this? What are the logistics of actually doing this? You will tell them exactly, what to do.
Yep.
So
So
that's
you would take a newbie, right? Someone that doesn't wholesale, doesn't fix and flip, but you would take someone new as long as they're aggressive or willing to learn and put the time in.
Exactly. Yep. As long as you get, this whole business is mindset.
Yep.
All of us in this room, we all do a form of real estate. It's just a little bit different. Like Mike, I know you do the modular stuff,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Jake, I know you fix and flip. And then we're obviously doing creative, but at the end of the day, if you don't have a mindset where you're committed and confident somewhat in yourself, no matter what you do, it's always going to be shiny object and moving on to the next thing before it picks up, you know?
Yeah, people don't realize how much time you really have to put in.
Exactly.
So it doesn't just take a month to do your first deal, guys? How long does it take, would you say?
It took us 8 months to do our first deal.
First deal. Yep.
That's good. So, okay, to rewind, I want to double click on something that you first said at the beginning, is that you yourself, you guys didn't do any, you didn't sign up to any coaching programs or anything, right? Or
When we first started, we did sign up to, that was like the first thing we did. We signed up for a coaching program to learn how to do sales, marketing, and talk with sellers, because we never had sales experience. That was a number.
And who was that with? That was with your attorney?
No. So that was with another couple. Their names are Jen and Joe. They're down in Florida.
oh, I know that.
Yeah, you know Jen and Joe. Yeah, and then what we did was we also hired an attorney to teach us how to do the mirror wraps, the deed in lieu,
Okay.
all that paperwork, like the really
Intricacies.
intense intricacy legal side.
Let me
So
ask you something.
you didn't
Oh.
join the sub 2 community. That's what I was getting
Nope.
at.
Nope.
You're not part of Pace Morby's sub 2 community, because a lot of people that talk creative finance are
Nope.
part of that community.
Nope.
Okay, so you did it without joining that community. So it's
100%.
possible. Okay, that's good.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
And you said you wholesale too, also, right?
yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you think about the new law in PA? What are you doing with that?
Me and Jay, we're both getting licensed.
Yep.
It's just opening up another, it's just
Another
another
income source.
income stream, right? Do I like it? No. Am I gonna moan about it? Absolutely not.
No, I don't care either.
You know, at the
You know
end,
what? I think it's going to get rid of a lot of
it's just about to say that.
bad people, because wholesaling is filled with a lot of bad people.
Yes. And the
Uh,
competition will be dwindled to very close to none. And that is the whole point of, I think that is the whole point behind it too, is to dwindle out a lot of the lower level stuff.
Sure.
And
I deal with wholesalers all the time. They'll call me and I'll ask them, hey, do you have your own house? They don't even have their own house. They don't have a rental property. They don't even understand real estate. They don't know what the house is worth or how much it costs to fix it up.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, I'd say to add on that, I think, yeah, this increases the barrier to entry. And
Yes.
honestly, if you're looking at getting into real estate, a career where you can make millions of dollars and become like really wealthy within a shorter time frame, you're not going to get rich quick overnight. You should probably know what you're doing before you just jump into it, right? Like before you just say, hey, I'm going to buy your house and you don't have any money, you probably shouldn't be doing that, right? You probably should at least know a little bit about real estate before you just start contracting people. So I'm all for this law. I think it's a really good thing. I think it is a way for the MLS to increase their monopoly power. But it's also, I think, good for the consumer in a way, not in all ways, but in some ways for sure.
So
So
definitely good for the consumer, though. It's good for us too, because we're
it's good
legit
for us. It's good
and we
for
could
us.
buy the
It's good
houses and
for
we're
us.
gonna get more. We're gonna get more phone calls. There's less people I got to deal with,
Exactly.
Yep.
because if you're a cat, we're real cash buyers.
Yeah.
So I could just buy the house. I
Big-
prefer not to, but yeah.
Biggest thing we've seen too, I'll be honest with you, like it was so convoluted in the past until this law came out that like even some of our buyers, we were having a hard time selling things. Even the numbers were awesome. So we've bought a couple that we didn't really want to buy, but we're not gonna like back out of the deal. And then since the law happened, our deals have been flying off the table again, which is awesome in a good way,
That is good.
So you've actually seen this clean up some of the riffraff so far? You're actually seeing it?
I mean, in the past month since this is all came about,
Mhm.
it used to take us days to get deals assigned or gone, and then we're weeding through people. In the past month, every single deal that we have is we're either buying, we're already moved in and assigned it off, and they were being assigned within like 24 to 48 hours, which we haven't seen in a long time. Like honestly, it's been a long
Because they don't have as many offers now.
Exactly.
You know the market value of that house. It's worth 100,000. You're gonna offer 50 or 40, but you always got that guy from Florida, Tennessee, or someone that says, "I'll give you 100." They don't even come look at it.
I'll
They
give
don't
you
know what's wrong
400.
with it. And yeah, and so they tell me as the buyer, well, he's gonna give me that. I go, well, if he doesn't give you that, which he's probably not, give me a call. And you always get that call 3 months later. Hey, Mike, how are you?
You
Remember
never
me?
know.
Oh yeah, that I was gonna give you 50. Yeah, well, it's 75 now, but what's going on? And
Yep.
yeah, I lost a lot. Not to, you just got to stay on top of them then. Then it's a lot of like, keep calling. Hey, how's it going? Are you going to close? What's going on? And I really wasn't as good as that as Jake is. Jake is tremendous at that. He'll call you, email, text you. He did that for this meeting today. I got text messages, emails. I think I was jamming up my computer. I couldn't get it on. I'm like, yo, just stop. But yeah, you got to stay on top. It's with anything, Me, I'd rather just build homes now. That's my thing. But yeah, that's cool.
Heck yeah.
So also, I think a really unique thing about you guys is like you're doing this together as a husband and wife now, which you recently just got married.
Yes,
So
congratulations.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
guys.
But a lot of people, a lot of spouses, like I mean, you hear this from a lot of different people. Maybe their husband doesn't really want anything to do with real estate, and the wife is very involved, or vice versa. And a lot of people are afraid at bringing their significant other into their business because it might create problems at home or things like that. So what are you guys doing? Like how do you both just love real estate so much and you're just like it works out because you're both very passionate about it? Or like what would you, first off, how are you guys doing it? And then secondly, what would you recommend for other people where maybe their spouse isn't on board like you guys are?
I'm gonna let you ride with it.
Like, he already knows as a newlywed. You're in charge, babe. Yeah, babe.
Yeah.
Well, first and foremost, I want to say that not every day is a good day, right?
Yeah.
We started off both with like I said, I pulled him in and then we both saw the vision together. And that's what made us like to this common ground that, hey, now we have a business. But within that business, what we essentially did was create boundaries, like lines, like you're responsible for this and I'm responsible for this. Stay in your lane.
Ask for permission across the line in
Correct.
the sand, right?
Because when we start interweaving with each other, that's when it gets sticky.
Right, like Jay handles operations, hiring, content, all like anything that has to do with organization. That's Jay. Me, I like to deal with sellers, talk on the phone, and do deals. Like
Filmmaking.
that's my thing. As soon as Jay starts to come over into that, or I start to come over into that, it obviously there's a clash. So when we first started, we did everything together so we can learn both sides of it. So if God forbid something happens to one of us or
Yep.
whatever it may be, we're not totally blind to what's going on. But we've quickly found out who likes what and who doesn't like what, and who's strong at what and who's not, right? And then at that point, that's where we went like this. And since then, that's how we've been able to really be successful together, still actually like have a personal relationship and not kill each other, and right, and continuously grow.
I think we're at the point where like decisions are now the things that we discuss with each other, and just having time to both sit and communicate. Just like you communicate in a relationship, you have to communicate as business partners. And so when we don't see eye to eye, it's just having those open and honest conversations with each other of what each perspective is.
Learning how to listen.
Yep.
Right. So when it's hard because we live together, right? We work together, and we work in the house that we personally live in together. So when you wake up in the morning, right, you have your husband or wife cap on. Well, 9 o'clock hits and I have to hop on the team meeting with our VAs. My business hat is on. So the rest of until whatever we're doing, right, my business hat's on. And now I know Jay's business hat's on. So when we're talking to each other, we're not talking to each other as husband and wife anymore. right? Talking to each other as business partners, like, you know, me and Jake would, or me and Mike would, or, you know, so on. So that's always been how that has helped us to keep that personal and business stuff. Now it sounds real easy. It's not.
It's
very
not
hard.
easy.
It's
No.
very hard. It's like, it's really hard. And then
I love newlyweds. This is great.
oh, we've been
That-
together 10 years, brother.
We've been together 10 years. Yep.
All right, not 27, but anyway,
Almost half.
no, that's not it. But
No,
this is
I
awesome.
think,
No,
I think
this
you
is
guys
great.
pointed out real quick. You figured out what your strengths were based on your personality type, and then you divided and conquered. Basically, is what you said.
Yep.
You figured out what Jay's good at. You figured out what you're good at. It took a little bit of time and a little bit of butting heads, and then you realized that it's best to divide and conquer. And then you're able to work together and make decisions together, just like any other partnership. And then I guess the real tricky part is turning that off, right? And going back to the relationship. So do you have advice on anybody else on like how, you know, if my wife hates real estate and like doesn't like that I work a lot and I do all I'm doing and I use a lot of debt and stuff, you know, how could I see or plant some seeds for her to see, you know, that what I'm doing is good? Do you have any recommendations there?
Honestly, yeah. Just side note, we didn't have a big wedding. We decided to purchase a house instead of have a big wedding.
We got married in St. Clair.
That's awesome, by the
But
way.
that's because we both saw the same, again, vision. What
And-
is that lifestyle and life goal that we want to get to? What's that why?
If your partner is not on the same page with your business, it's typically because the other person who's not on the same page as you or who doesn't want to do it doesn't see the value.
Yep.
So they're like, why the hell am I going to do this? I don't get the value from it.
Sure. So
and-
create value, sell a house, bring home the check, say, babe, look at this, $100,000. Next thing you know, she'll be doing real estate.
No, next thing you know, she'll be on the beach with margarita. Okay.
No, it's funny. My girlfriend, so she's into modeling and she wants to be an actor. And I actually took her to an event in Florida,
That's
and
cool.
she met some of the people in the event. And like on our way back, she's like, "I want to do real estate. I want to do real estate." Really. So yeah, I think once they see the value of it, it really
Sure,
helps.
when you're around the same mindset of people, you know, it really just depends, you know?
Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome that you guys bought a house rather than spending $50,000 on a wedding. You bought a house. That's the way to go. That's great. So that's the power of being on the same page in a relationship. Whereas like I would rather do that. I would rather buy a house than spend $50K on a wedding. But I don't know if my future wife, you know, is on that page. So,
Hey, I eloped. We saved money. And I said, oh, on our 10th anniversary, we'll have a wedding. I don't know if you guys said that to each other. Then the 10th anniversary came. I said, hey, let's save a little more money. Then on the 20th, I was like, yo, forget it. You know, it's a waste of money. Who's going to come now?
I would come, Mike. I would come.
Well, yeah.
So so you started out, you know, you did your first deal. How have you grown since then? And what are some of the things that you've learned? And what does the future look like for you guys?
Great. Yeah, great question. So when we started, we were doing free organic marketing on social media. You know, that's how we were getting our leads. We weren't spending a dime on anything. We didn't delegate, right? We were doing this out of my mom's garage. We actually lived with my mom for 8 months to start the business.
And
And
wait, real quick, I'm sorry to interrupt, but
Yeah.
were you guys still working your jobs when you first started?
yes.
Okay.
Yep. So we
leveraged that.
we leveraged that. And then basically from when we started till now, right now we have a team of internally 6 virtual assistants that work full-time for us. We have a transaction coordinator. We have a dispo manager. And then we also have obviously like our attorney and stuff like that. But, you know, our immediate team is made up of eight people. At this time. So when we first started, we were working out of my mom's garage doing organic marketing. Now we have a marketing team and we have 8 people that work for us. And there's obviously more stress the higher that you climb and the more things that you got to do. But basically our goal in today's, vision for what's to come next is we want to be able to delegate enough to remove ourselves from the day to day. We have no interest in becoming a, $10 million
Corporation.
a year business that has 70 employees and you're doing 40 deals per month. That's just not what we want to do. We want to have a small portfolio that is generating 10 to 15 grand a month, right? In passive. We want to have a very successful coaching business because it's very fulfilling. It's something that we truly love to do. And then also have an acquisitions business where we're able to still bring in our own deals and then still make some active income to keep the lights on and pay everybody else. So that is the overall vision for us. It's, it's rather modest than some of the people that I know in other markets, but that's what we found from being that 10 to 15 deal a month company, which we were back in 2022 and 23, and we were miserable, hated it. It was just transactional. There was no attachment to it. So we scaled it back and we built it right now. And we're trying to build it back up to where, it is what we still enjoy and that we're happy to do it every day, but where it's not an animal that is consuming us. So
Yeah, a lot of people say like, oh, I have 1,000 units, or I've done 1,000 real estate deals or 200 real estate deals, and we're doing 10 million a year and stuff. But what you learn is it's not about that. It's about like, first off, it's about your quality of life and if you're getting fulfillment out of life or not. And what is your net profit? That's cool. You're doing 10 million. How much are you bringing home?
you're
Things like,
actually keeping anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it really worth that time? The whole idea to do real estate was I wanted time for my family, right? Time for myself, time to do stuff. I don't know if, 4,000 doors or something like that's going to give me that time. I could be wrong.
I'm not the time guy. That's not why I do real estate, but
Yeah.
but a lot of people get into real estate for that reason. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not either the time. I say that, but you see me, Jake. I work 24/7. But yeah, I don't know. I like what I do. You like what you do. Everyone likes what they do. There's a difference. I don't even consider it work.
Yeah.
Yep. It's fun. And at the end of the day, it really just comes down to what your goals are, right? I have friends who only want to wholesale the rest of their lives and that's what they love, and fine. I
Yeah,
have other
go to
friends-
another state.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So
Well, you know what? Some people, you get tired of wholesaling. Wholesaling was good for me. I liked it. I learned a lot, and then I just took it to the next level.
yep. It's like
Same
that.
with Jake.
It's like your freshman year of high school, then you get your
Yeah,
sophomore,
me-
junior, senior.
to me, wholesaling is an exit strategy. Why should I give up that property I don't want to buy, flip, or redo, or keep as a rental when I could just sell it to somebody? So it's that's really what I look at it as.
Yep. Exactly. It's just another tool in the tool belt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't have any more questions, Jake. Do you?
Well, I want to talk about that deal real quick. That really bad one.
Oh yeah, let's hear about the bad one. Why is it
let's hear
bad?
about that deal.
And what'd you learn?
Yeah.
And that one taught us everything.
Yeah.
So how'd you find it? How'd you buy it? Tell us everything.
I found it Facebook Marketplace. We bought it on a wraparound.
Wraparound mortgage.
So we had a 5-year term with the seller.
Yeah. So we had a 5-year term with the seller. It was a 2.5% interest rate that we took over. There's 7 years left on his mortgage. So it was basically all principal. He was holding a note with no payments, no interest for 5 years for like 98 grand. So we bought the property for all in for 130. It was worth about $160. Well, we never saw it. We bought off Facebook Marketplace. We went through a formal closing, and then we turned it into a rent to own. Within a couple months, what we had looked at, right? Why did this deal go bad? First off, it was our first deal that we've ever done off market that we negotiated, and it was creative. Second, all we did was look at the numbers. We didn't look at location. We didn't look at the property type,
Characteristics.
the size, all that shit, right? All we looked at was, hey, this property is going to net us $1,000 a month, right? We're getting into it for $5,000 with closing costs, and we have a super low rate. This is a banger, right? So we close on it. We put a rent to own family in there. Mind you, this house is a 5-bed, 3-bath, 2,000 square feet that the seller did not really finish updating. So we sold it as a handyman special to a rent-to-own family. We never did that again. And that is the type of family, unfortunately, in saying this the nicest way possible, that you're going to get, right? And they moved in
around tax season.
Yep. So another thing we did is a lot of people say, hey, when you're doing rent to own, you're going to have a ton of people coming to you. It's a great time to list your home for rent to own during tax season. They're going to get a big tax return. Problem. It's found money, right? It's not for it. You get what I'm saying though. Like in most people's minds, it's found money. It's not earned.
They're
right?
not budgeting and saving and putting that aside every month. Yeah.
Right. And then on top of that, this house was huge. So you're targeting a huge family, a massive wear and tear on the property. This was an 8-person family that went into this home. They gave us 15 grand down. We made all of our money back plus a ton more because we filled it in like 2.5, 3 months. And then we were cash flowing. They were paying us for 2 months, 3 months. We were brand new. They stopped paying us in like June and they moved in March. So they were giving us every excuse in the book, making it believable. We let it go on for about 6 months. Well, finally we hired an attorney and evicted them, and they were using it to house their animals for like months.
Oh,
So we had to basically gut the place. So on this property, it was our first creative deal, our first rent to own, our first eviction, our first rehab, our first contractor who fucked us over. And then finally, it was the first house we ever listed on the market. So we learned everything.
You don't actually go and look at these homes?
Any houses that we keep personally, we do
Yeah.
those. Yeah.
So you learned probably more from that deal than you could have from like a college course or something.
100%.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah, 4 years of college right there.
Yep.
First 6 months.
One deal.
One
You
deal,
guys
6
broke even.
months.
Did you break even? Did you lose money?
We did. We broke even, thankfully. So how did we break even? It was a $35,000 rehab because the house was so damn big. We found a dead dog in the basement. It smelled like cats really bad. It was brutal. So it took like weeks just to get the smell out. So after about 35 grand, we had a cost basis on the house of 128 at the time. And we had to put another 30 into it. And the house on the market was barely worth 160. So we already knew we were going to lose money. But what we did is we let the seller know that we were going to be paying him off years early. So we said, hey, look, we're paying you off years early. In the note that we have, his note is not due on sale. So that's how we wrote it up. And he was cool with that. He said, look, you have 5 years to pay me off. If you sell it beforehand, it's okay. Which, that's okay. It is what it is. But so basically we said, look, we're going to pay you off like 3.5 years early. Because we're paying you off 3.5 years early, can you work with me? I could get you paid off in like 3 weeks. This was like before closing. And then he wound up cutting his note by like 10, 15K, which allowed us to now break even after realtor commissions and stuff. So
Awesome.
negotiation all the way
Yes, creative already again.
That's
So
a good
you
deal.
learned.
That's a good
Yeah.
deal, man. That's a learning experience right there.
You learned it didn't cost you. It
exactly.
cost you time, but
It's
yeah,
stressful.
couple of
Maybe some
headaches.
hair. Lost some hair.
couple little fights at home, but
Yep.
you still got married.
Yep. Taught us how to use 0% credit cards too.
Yep.
Hey,
So
I did that.
If people start learning from you, that might be something that they can avoid, because
Exactly.
if they find a deal and they try to buy it, you might be like, hey, wait, we did this before. We can tell you, don't do this or do this.
And that's the good thing about mentoring and getting a coach. You're paying for that.
The problems that
Yes, your problems. I hate when people say, I've never messed up before. Well, I don't want to talk to you then.
Yeah.
How you ain't teaching me. You didn't learn anything.
Yep.
You know?
Good coaching is like, I used to play Grand Theft Auto all the time when I was a kid, and like I'd have cheat codes, and like literally coaching is like cheat codes.
That's it.
Yes,
if
that's
you
what you're
get
paying
good
for.
coaching.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm paying for your mistakes. I'm going to give you 1% of your mistake, but it's going to teach me the right way that I never make that mistake.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
And that's the whole key. That could have been and that's another thing we always tell everybody too, is like, some of our students look at us, we got like 6 heads when we tell them that story. And we say, look, like, we could have stopped right there. That could have scared the shit out of us, and we would have
Sure.
said,
And
"Hey,
went back to your regular job.
through this." But if you're committed, you figure out a way through it, right? Like we had said from the start, the reason that we did creative because we were resourceful. We were resourceful with that rehab. We had credit cards 0%. We had to renegotiate. We figured out a way to get contractors in there and GC the thing ourselves, which we never did. That was a whole nother thing. That was fucking wild. But
You do what you got to do at the end of the day.
yeah, exactly.
That's right.
That's it.
It made you stronger, and look at you guys now.
Yep.
So we're gonna wrap up soon, but I have a couple more questions, and then I have a lightning round, real quick, if you don't mind.
Let it rip.
Okay. All right. So what is your outlook for the future? What do you think? Where do you guys see yourself in a few years? What do you want to be doing? What is your plan for the next couple of years?
On my end, I'm definitely going to remove myself like as much as possible so that children can come into the mix, right? Because I want my full-time focus to be on my children. That's part of my why.
Yep. And what my goal is over the next couple of years is to learn how to create a process around what I do, which is the sales negotiating, and now start to hire around that. So I myself can take a step back and do what I actually enjoy more than making deals, which is coaching people. But we still need that business to run. If you hire a coach and they're not doing deals, they're not your coach, straight up.
Yep.
Right. So
Awesome. So we can expect some baby Scarpas running around soon.
Yeah, little contractors.
Yeah.
Let's go. Keep it all in house. Got a plumber, got a roofer. I tried that with my kids. They're like, "Dad, I ain't doing that."
What do you guys think about the market? Like, do you think the market's changing right now? Do you think is the sky falling? Like, what's going on with the market right now? Mortgage rates are going up still. What do you think about the market? What are you seeing? What are you feeling?
Yep. So in terms of what we're seeing and what we're feeling, the overall I'll be honest with you, in the past 5 months since we've started this business, I have never really seen the way that it's been recently, right? But we've been able to figure out and obviously get through it. But from what we see with the market, there's only going to be more opportunity for people like all of us here. The default rate has gone up through the roof. The amount of home sales have dropped tremendously, right? And what we need to do as investors, right, or people that are buying homes from whether it's distressed sellers or whatnot, is just get a little bit more creative about how we go about our process and what we do. I don't think that the world is ending, and I don't think that real estate investing is coming to an end, right? It's just a cycle. I think it's just going to make you really dig deeper into how you have to execute these deals and what you're going to do with the deals to make money.
And regulations, right? Regulations are going to start to pop up more, in my opinion, especially like around the creative stuff, just overall.
Yeah. With social media, real estate investing has blown up. You have a million coaches out there, mentors, whatever. Prior to social media, that wasn't really a problem. Now I think with all of everything being able to be marketed publicly, right, and to get into a bunch of people's hands, regulations are starting to come out, and I think it's needed.
Yeah, I do too. And I think if you can do deals right now and over this year, next year, then you could basically make it through any weather, I would say. So it's more of a challenge on you to become better, I would say, for anybody listening to this. Do you want to do a lightning round real quick?
I'll set her up.
So I'll just ask you a question and then you just answer it really fast. And Mike Bazzadona, there's two mics here. So the first one, what's the first myth about creative finance you'd like to see disappear immediately?
I'd say the myth of creative finance I'd like to see disappear immediately is that you need to target sellers who are in distress.
There's no such thing as no money down at all. Like you need money to purchase property.
Yep.
Like no money down to the seller, that's a thing, but no money down like out of pocket type thing, no.
Okay. And favorite real estate resources, like must read books, any book suggestions or anything like that?
Profit First.
Self-managing landlord.
Profit First. I know that guy that wrote that book, The Profit
Yeah.
First. I never read it. I gotta read it. And then parting words. What's the ultimate piece of advice you give a couple embarking on the real estate journey together?
Stay in your lane, create boundaries, communicate well, and be confident in your own decisions.
This is a hard one.
Mike
Hey,
just
stay in your
nailed it.
lane.
I was
Stay in your
hoping
lane.
for
That was
great. Got my chance.
Don't think of the now, think of the future. Right.
I like it. I like it. Bazadona, do you have any closing remarks?
No, that was good. I wasn't that prepared today, Jake. I apologize.
That's great.
I was working all day. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, I was prepared, so
I know.
we're good. That's why, this is how we're doing it. So sometimes he's going to be more prepared, and sometimes I'll be more prepared.
It's a partnership.
So it's okay. We're good.
Well, thank
Yeah.
you, Jay and Mike. I really appreciate it. I think you guys shared a lot of value today. For anybody listening to this, I really suggest rewinding and listening to it twice, maybe even 3 times. When I hear a good podcast, I listen to them like 3 times. If there's good things that I want to get out of it, like maybe a new way to purchase a property or something, I'll take notes. And they just gave away a lot of really good game for free.
Yeah, and if you really have questions, we have all our information underneath on the links. Reach out to them.
Yes.
Maybe you want them to coach you.
Yes.
Because now I'm thinking about it. I've done everything. I did a subject too, though. I'm not gonna lie. I did a subject too for a flip
Cool.
because I was scared that the bank was gonna call it back. Right? I was just new to that. And I'm like, I'm just gonna flip this house. So I said I'll be done in 6 months, and it worked out. I think I only paid twice, 2 payments or whatever, and I bought the house, but we sold it. But yeah, that's all I did it for. I was a little scared, but now I'm gonna reach out to you, Mike.
Yeah, me personally, creative finance, guys, anybody listening to this, like creative finance changed my life completely. It's what allowed me to quit my job and go full-time in real estate because I was able to buy properties, not with no money down, but without going to the bank. Like I got loans through sellers that I wouldn't have qualified from if I went to the bank. So, and that's what allowed me to finally quit my job and stuff. So creative finance is very powerful, especially in a high interest rate environment. You talk to people in the 80s, like the OG brokers and stuff in the 80s, and they're all like, yeah, everybody was doing creative finance back then.
Oh, it was 18% or something back
Yeah.
then.
Imagine if we get to a 10, 12% rate environment, creative finance is going to be rocking and rolling. Like who wouldn't? Dude, I'll sell you my house and take 13% interest. Okay, let's do it. That's a good.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So,
right, well-
and a lot of landlords, so this is the last part. Like a lot of people are like, oh, creative finance, seller finance. If you have a lot of money, right? If I own a bunch of properties, if I have 300 properties or something, and I've got $1 million in my bank account, and let's say I want to retire, if I sell those properties, I have to pay capital gains, I have to recapture my depreciation, and I have to pay somebody to sell them. If I sell or finance those properties, I don't have to pay all that capital gains up front. I can get a return on my money, and I'm still getting monthly cash flow. And then I can set that up any way. I can put it in a trust where my kids get it later on, whatever. So for people that are more sophisticated investors, like they're very on board to do creative financing. It's harder to educate someone that isn't sophisticated, but you might encounter some higher level landlords, and they're like, oh yeah, I know exactly what that is, and I will do that. Because
Always look for
lot
a
of stuff.
tired landlord. That's what you need.
Yep.
It's literally a win-win. Creative finance is a win-win for all parties involved. And thank you guys for exposing some
Absolutely.
techniques and truth about it.
Yes, great. It was great. Thank you. Everyone, check them out. Go find them on Facebook, Instagram. Go to their website.
Yeah,
We'll have all
what's
the
your
info there.
Instagram and Facebook real quick again? One last time.
Yep. I'm Roman with Mike on Instagram and Mike Scarpa on Facebook.
Roman with Jay and Jae Scarpa on Facebook.
Excellent. All right. Thank you.